you guys are ready to go, just let me know and we could go ahead and start the meeting.
We're good to go, Mr. Chair.
Okay, great. Thank you, Stephen. Okay, I'd like to call this Public Works meeting to order. The time is now 6:10. Can we do roll call to start the meeting?
Chair Counselor Dennis Tim Salazar,
Present.
Counselor Denise Benavides,
Present.
Counselor Dorothy Valdez, Counselor John Ramon Vihil.
Hello,
Counselor John Ramon Vihil,
can you hear me? Hello?
yes.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah, it's connected.
Okay, with that, we do have a quorum. If you've had the opportunity to look at the agenda, I'm looking for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Counselor John Ramon Vihil, seconded by Counselor Denise Benavides. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. Item C is the approval of the Public Works Committee meeting minutes. Okay, we have 3 items of past meeting minutes. I know none of our present committee members were on Public Works back in at the time. So I just want to verify that it's okay for us to still approve these meeting minutes, although that we have not been, none of us were on the committee at the time. Is that okay to do so? I just want to verify maybe if somebody from the clerk's office is there.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so item C number 1, Public Works Committee meeting minutes for December 3rd, 2019. If you had an opportunity to review them, I'm looking for a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. Richard Hubler, I think you have a question, sir?
I just wanted to make a point. It's my understanding that in order to keep with the OMA regulations for these remote meetings, we're required to do a roll call vote on all the action items, including.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Will do. So with that, okay, there's been a motion and a second. So Counselor Denise Benavides, looking for a roll call on that. Yes.
Approved.
Okay.
Yes.
For the motion. Okay, Counselor John Ramon Vihil.
For the motion.
Okay, and I myself like to state I'm for the motion as well. Okay, so then moving on to the next is going to be the Public Works Committee meeting minutes for February 4th, 2020. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Okay, motion's been made by Counselor Benavides.
Second.
Okay, there's been a second by Counselor John Ramon Vihil. So with that, I guess that would pretty much signify, right, a roll call for the first and the second. Okay, Counselor Benavides for the motion.
For the motion.
Okay, Counselor John Ramon Vihil.
In favor of the motion.
Okay, I'm also in favor of the motion. Motion passes. Next item is the Public Works Committee meeting minutes for June 2nd, 2020. So this was last month. You've had an opportunity to review the minutes. I'm looking for a motion for approval.
So moved.
So moved.
Okay, motion's been made, Counselor Benavides, second bid by Counselor John Ramon Vihil. Counselor Benavides in favor?
In favor.
Okay, Counselor John Ramon Vihil in favor?
In favor of the motion.
Okay, motion carries. I'm in favor as well. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda for public comments. Is there anybody from the public on the meeting? I don't think there's anybody, but I figured I'd check anyway.
No comments.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is item E, committee member comments. Anybody from the committee has any questions or comments at this time?
I did, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Counselor John Ramon Vihil, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to bring forth, I wanted to talk to the committee about the possibility of us looking at putting some additional street lighting on North Prince Drive. If we get a lot of calls from residents down there regarding, people have been using those side-by-side cars, and I guess they're racing through there like at 2, 3 in the morning. And it's my understanding from what I've heard in the circles is they like going down there because it's pitch black and they think it's a little racetrack down there, out of sight, out of mind. And now they've taken advantage of the fact where the low water crossing has been paved, and I guess they're using that as like a ramp. And I just would like to look at the possibility of us putting some additional lighting down there, whether it's 3 or 4 poles. There's poles already down there, just looking at putting the fixtures on an existing infrastructure. I've already spoke with Hemes and they're willing to be a great partner on this. I even think we have the potential to work with Riobamba County, as that road does service a lot of the county residents in El Huachi and on this area. And so I sent an email about this, and I just would like us to see what we can do to go further on that.
Okay, thank you, Counselor. I know I saw the email and I saw the response from Stephen Trujillo, our Public Works Director. Stephen, would you like to comment on that a little bit more?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. We have been meeting with Hemes. It's been City Manager Richard Hubler, myself. We've had many discussions because there was uncertainties about the whose lights or whose. We've been trying to work on that. I could defer to Richard so he could explain that a little better in detail that way of our meetings that we've had.
Okay, very good. Richard, you have the floor if you would like to comment on that, sir.
Yes, absolutely. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, we're certainly in favor of adding streetlights at a number of areas around the city, including this one. The idea turns out to be a lot easier than the reality. Working with Hemes over the past 6 months to try and ascertain and move forward with a variety of different ideas about just getting streetlights fixed. About as far as we've gotten in that process so far is, as Director Trujillo mentioned, working out the ownership on the lights. So there's somewhere around 12 to 1,400 streetlights in the city limits. There's somewhere around 200 of those that are belonging to us, most of which we inherited from DOT projects, and the remainder are on Hemes distribution infrastructure. We have, as stipulated in our franchise agreement, we have a contract with Hemes to provide that service, and we pay them for that. There's apparently currently a lack of clarity about exactly what we're paying for. Our contact at Hemes, Tony Martinez, is addressing this. His staff member and our street supervisor last fall did a write around and identified and clarified ownership on a number of the lights along kind of the main drags, Riverside and 84 285. I believe that they addressed something like 60 to 100 lights there and kind of ascertain the ownership. Again, we still don't even have a full inventory of the lights at this point. So that's been kind of the stumbling block on being able to kind of resolve the situation, which, like I said, has been unresolved since 2012 when we last signed the franchise agreement. It's our consideration for my department, at least, and Stephen and I have talked about this, that moving forward with the lights in general, we want to consider a different model of ownership. Either, we own all the streetlights, for instance, and then Hemes supplies us the power, and that would allow us to go after some of the grants that have been mentioned in this meeting and council meetings about, upgrading the lights. Or the flip side, perhaps, we own none of the lights and Hemes owns all the lights, and then we just pay for the use. But there's so many kind of mixed up factors in resolving the situation that even adding a few streetlights here and there has been problematic. Particularly to the Prince Drive proposal, the absolute cleanest way to do that at this point in time would be for the city to just flat out purchase the poles and lights. Any of the poles that are up there are Hemes distribution infrastructure. Then we could meter that run. We would have a direct bill for those specific, 3, 4, half dozen lights. And then we could work that into the ongoing negotiations and either retain ownership if that ends up being the long-term model, or release ownership to Hemes, however that bigger picture thing works out. And I believe in the email, Stephen put together some costs on that, and it would be a not insignificant amount to add those lights. So I think that we've got a fair estimate now on what that cost could be, and I'll let Stephen or Elijah speak to those specific numbers, but that'd be our recommendation as far as addressing this particular need and request would be to just purchase and install those lights at this time so that we could get it done and then make that part of the bigger discussion.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Richard. Stephen or Elijah, would you like to add to Richard's comments? If you have any thing to add?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, the cost estimates we gave there were some of the repairs and stuff that we're currently looking at, which is about $1,200 a head on some of these LED units. And it really pertains to Industrial Park Road. Just a way of looking at it right now, we looked at just repairs alone of wire on the intersection of 399 and 68, New Mexico 68. And just to replace some of the wire there and a few little repairs that were done was about $17,000. And that was a total of 8 lights. And that's just some repairs on that. That's not including bases, poles, making sure that it's going to be within right of ways and where we're actually going to put it. And then the reasoning for putting it. We got to make sure that if we're going to put them on, I would just assume this would, if we're going to put them on entryways to roads, there's 11 or 12 roads there that are kind of identified there. If we're looking to put them on there, including the water crossing, we're looking about 14, maybe 16 lights total. And then the running of the wire there, being able to pull down and put meters, and then probably running them overhead to prevent theft. So we'd have to look at that cost completely. It's a little bit more than what the repairs that we were speaking of earlier that I saw in the email. So there is a little bit bigger cost that could be encumbered with this.
Okay, very good. Stephen.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee. So like Elijah said, we can move forward and we could get costs for you guys for the committee to see and where we would actually get the funding from, just so we know more or less to run the wire. Like Elijah said, we're having to figure out how to put, so they can't steal the wire. Even with aluminum here on North Railroad, I've received a ton of calls because they stole the wire, Hem has rewired them, and now they've cut it again, so they're not working. Having to, and I don't know if they retook it again, so they're having to put tamper-proof boxes or figure out a way to keep these people from having to cut the wire. Also on the bridge, which Councillor John Ramon Vigil did bring up, and the wires were cut there as well again too. So it is, we're gonna have to figure out how to deter them from messing with our lighting as well too, because even the aluminum, like I say, they're trying to take that too. But I'll work on it. I'll put it on my list and we could get a cost of how much it's going to cost us.
Okay, very good. Councillor Vigil, is there any other questions you have in reference to that? Or is that something that you're looking at so they can look for a possible cost and then they can bring it back to us possibly next meeting or the meeting after, whenever it's ready? What are your ideas on that, sir?
Yeah, I'm looking at costs. I'd like to see if we can meet with maybe the county, bring them in as a partner.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
members of the committee, Councillor Don Ramon Vigil, I know that was a possibility that was brought up before. Just to mention, the county was supposed to help us with that low water crossing to pay half, and that never did come through. The city, we had to find the whole funding to complete that project. So I don't know if we still want to be in those talks to try or just get the whole thing done through the city, because it may
You
take.
know, I think it doesn't hurt us to reach out, and you know, I recall that situation happening. It's really important that the 5 government entities of this valley come together, and whatever happens of those talks, but we need to start them and then work with HEMES and see if they're willing to work with us as well. And I think it's in the best interest of the residents of that area, and seeing what we can do. I don't like ruling out any possibilities of working with another entity to see what we can do to help the greater service area.
Okay, thank you. Richard, you have a question or comment?
I was just going to make a comment. If Stephen and Elijah work on the cost estimate side, I can reach out to the county and work on that, because there's going to be, since that's a county road, there's going to be some easement related issues anyways. So I can reach out to the county on that, and we can try and get back to you guys. Well, I guess that's up to Stephen maybe, but I feel we can maybe shoot for the next meeting. And if it turns out we don't have anything to present at that point, we'll just push it back until we do.
Okay, I think that's a great idea. Yeah, let's just revisit it at the next meeting, kind of see how far along we are. City Manager Martinez, you had a comment on that, sir, by chance?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, directors. So if you recall, we did get approved for capital outlay of now for 2020 of $500,000 for streetlights. Unfortunately, those funds got frozen, so we're looking at see where we're at in that, and then we can also bring it up to request for more capital outlay when we do present this to the governing body and approve the capital outlay request list in September as well. So that's another option that we can look at to for infrastructure and lighting.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you, sir. So with that said, if everybody's okay with it, let's just see what happens within the month. Let's relook at it in the month of August, kind of see where we're at, and we'll kind of take it from there, how far along we are and where we need to go from there, if everybody's good with that. How's that? Okay, so yeah, so let's do that. We'll revisit it at our next meeting in the month of August. Thank you all for your hard work in reference to this and for addressing the questions that Councillor Vigil had as well. So yeah, we can move forward with that and let's see what happens in August. Okay, if there's nothing else in reference to this item, is there any other committee member comments at this time? Okay, hearing none. As far as matters from the chair, I don't have anything at this time. So let's move on to item G, which is recommended items to the full council. Item number 4 is request replacement of hydrogrider at the wastewater treatment plant. Antonio, are you there? There you are.
Yes, sir.
How you doing, sir?
Good, and yourself?
Good, good. Thank you. You have the floor, sir.
Yes, thank you, members of the committee. We're trying to replace this hydrogrider. It's been in place since 1984. It's no longer working. It's causing major problems with our lift stations. We've had to replace 2 lift pumps, and it's costing us more not to have it than to actually replace it. So, we really need it there. And it's vital for us to have it. So for EPA reasons, for our 503s or effluent going out.
Okay. 1984, what's that? 36 years. Wow.
Yeah, it is job.
I think at our previous meeting, I think there was a cost of what, 60,000, right around that? Is that
Yes,
about
sir.
okay.
Yeah, it's
All right.
63,000 around there.
Okay, very good. Committee members, any comments, any questions to this at this time? Okay, if with that said, I'm looking for a motion for approval to move this to the full city council.
Motion to approve, Chair, to move to full council.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
Councillor Benavides made a motion. Councillor John Ramon Vigil seconded the motion. Now, just to follow the COVID rules, I'd like to do a roll call vote. Councillor Benavides.
For the motion.
Okay, for the motion, Councillor John Ramon Vigil.
For the motion.
Okay, very good. I'd like to state that I'm also in favor of this to be able to move to our full council. Thank you very much, Antonio. Okay,
Thank
next
you.
item. Next item is going to be the request to purchase 3 new units for the water department. Antonio, you have the floor again, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Yes, I need to replace 2 units, 149 and 418. They're out to, they're going to be out to auction. Also, the meter reader unit needs to be upgraded. Without these units, we can't do our job. We gotta be there for our constituents. Yeah, it's costing us more to not have them than to have them.
Okay, very good. Also from our previous meeting in finance, I think, what is the cost? Is $108,000? Is that the cost that you're looking at, Antonio, for that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Councilors, any comments, any questions in reference to this item?
I think this is well overdue. We have some trucks out there. I think that we pretty much replaced most of them, but there was a time, I think, when most of the trucks were over 15 years old, and we can't have that happen anymore. So for the motion.
Second.
Okay, I very much agree. Okay, motion's been made by Councilor Vigil, seconded by Councilor Benavides. Again, a roll call vote. Councilor John Ramon Vigil.
For the motion.
Okay, Counselor Benavides.
For the motion.
Okay, I'd also like to state I'm for the motion, so the motion passes unanimously to go to the full council. This will be at our next meeting. Very good. Thank you, Antonio. Appreciate that. Thank you for your
Thank you.
presentation.
Thank you, members.
Okay, moving on to, okay, that's the end of the recommended items to the full council. Let's move on to item H, which is General Services Department. GSD Director Jeff Sargent, if you could be able to give us a brief department overview.
Good evening, Committee Chair Salazar and committee members and fellow directors. I believe you folks should have the department overview in front of you. One of the first item I'm looking at is the GPS navigation system. That's in process and I'm waiting on approval for that to move forward based on depending where our budget is at for this coming year, because that one was going to be running about almost 19,800, I believe, for an annual cost. And that included service for 75 units. And it also was for free upgrades. And there is no connection fee because our guys can do it in-house. It's just a connection from the actual unit to the OBD on each vehicle. The next item is the online auction of assets. That's also in process. I passed this through committee previously. It's through this company called Government Surplus. It's a website, and all we do is we have to get them a list of the vehicle. We get you a list of the vehicles for disposal, put those items up on the website with a brief description, pictures, and the cost to the city is zero. The cost that the way they get their money is based on the sale, and they do it directly with the purchaser at the time of purchase. So the only thing we do is us as a city is we provide them a direct deposit area as to where we want the money to be dropped. And it's a lot faster, streamlined, and we can move vehicles out and start getting some income back in to where we can do some replacements on other vehicles or put that in whatever fund we deem necessary. The next is the Penny Garcia pool mechanical. That is 100% complete. The next item is the CDBG for Ranchitos Park through Sierra Solutions. That's also in process. 95% of the plans are in hand, and we've provided input and working on the 100%. We are actually waiting for the last of the answers back from our environmental letters that were sent out to all the different entities that might have questions or concerns, but it was looking like that was going to be non-existent. So we'll be going on to the next phase, which in my mind, hopefully would be going out to bid. The pool resurfacing at the Penny Garcia Roybal pool by Leisure Pools is also 100% complete. That pool is now fully cured, and we are looking at covering it up and shutting it down for the season. The next item is the Valdez Park renovation from Facility Build, and we got some really good news last week. The funds were released, so we have already made a purchase request and submitted that. So we're just waiting on them to receive this, so they can start getting their materials together and get this going. My hope would be that we could get it going within the next month and get this project done, I'd say by last of October. So everything would be ready and would be great for the next year, and hopefully our kids' Little League season and our constituents would have a nice new setup. We will have about $30,000 left over. And I did mention in our last meeting that that money I would be looking at putting in a play structure for the one we took out which was the little fort at Vanessa's Hideaway. Next item is the fire station addition. We did get that approved as well, but based on the soils report by the environmental department that came out and did some core drilling, they found that we have a lot of issues with subsurfacing. We have gravelly clay and sand mix to where the building that we would put there with the expansion would not be stable. So based on that, just the soil work and getting that pad prepped was going to cost about $180,000 and out of a total of 372. So based on that, our cost went up. We were hoping to be able to get that a 2-bay addition done for 372, but we're looking at having to add about $300,000 more, which we are looking at getting that done as a second phase through capital and a capital outlay request through the legislature, and we'll see how that goes. And the last item was the feasibility study of Lucero Center that was completed earlier in the year, and their recommendation is that we need to replace that building. The cost to fix it up versus replacing it would be a difference of $2 million. So 16 million for a brand new building, no, 18 million for a brand new building, 16 to renovate what we've got. So based on that, and also based on the Rioriba County passing their $6 million through their voting that was done last, I believe it was last November, Richard, if I'm correct. We're looking at going into collaboration with them to be able to build a brand new facility. One of the places that was being looked at was the bottom of the Northern College on a piece of property that's not set in stone. So that is something that we need to work on as on the city side. And that's my report.
Okay, very good. We got some good news. We also got some challenging stuff going on, but nonetheless, you guys have been working hard. You guys have a lot on your plate right now. Thank you very much for that report. Councilor Benavides, Councilor Vigil, do you have any questions for Mr. Sargent at this time?
Just real quick, Jeff, I know this is all preliminary, but do we have any, are you implying that we're the potential of going towards a geo bond for the recreation center, or is the county willing to work with us in terms of that bond that they passed last year?
I believe that question would be best answered by Director Richard Hubler, as he has had more direct contact with all the entities that have been involved, and the city manager.
Yeah, and I'll defer to City Manager Martinez to add on to my comments, as he was actually engaged with the process of scouting out a number of other facilities, comparable facilities, to put into the kind of design considerations. But the short version is that of the 3 bonds that the county was able to get passed last November, one of them did allow the county to bond out up to $6 million. That's supposed to be the initial leverage. They're working with the Llano Community Foundation and, of course, us, as well as the college. And so far, I've been holding a variety of meetings to kind of identify how best to move forward. My conversations with the Economic Development Director from Rioriba County, Christopher Madrid, who's kind of taking the lead on this project on their side, is that they're next going to go into a kind of a feasibility study that allows them to look at kind of what the community needs as far as a new facility goes. But absolutely in that conversation is the consideration of not duplicating any services. So to the point that Director Sargent raised about the Lucero Center, it's likely to turn out that a number of the things that we already provide there would be desirable basically for the new facility. And so it lessens the need for us to replace that building exactly. We've got some ideas about other things that could be utilized with that space, whether it be an expansion of the park or, expansion of the library or business startup center, or, a variety of different ideas. But the overall project is probably going to entail the city, county, and the college partnering in some capacity, yet to be determined, on the construction and operation of a new facility, probably at a virgin site that would service the entirety of the community.
Follow up real quick, Mr. Chair.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
I recall when the bond was happening, they were selling it as the Old Hill Junior High as the site for their recreation facility. Is that still in talks or discussions, the consideration of that site?
Yes, City Manager Martinez.
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, directors. So, Councilor John Ramon Vigil. So that was an initial one of the part of the sites, but since it's been moving progressively forward, that site has been moved off the table. So the prime two locations that they've narrowed it down to is the current site of where the Lucero Center facility resides, and of course, like what GSD Director Jeff Sargent mentioned, and some property that the college has off of Railroad Avenue, which I believe they would allow up to about 10 acres or about 7 acres for this. So with the talks where this happened at the beginning of the year, when the county and the Lownell Foundation reached out to the city and several other entities to come together and see what other municipalities have done to create a recreational facility for their constituents. So we decided to go down to Hobbs. This was at the tail end of February, right when the COVID pandemic was kicking off here in the state of New Mexico. So it was several entities that went down there. So it was the city of Española. So I went down there with the mayor. It was several individuals from the Lownell Foundation. The county of Rio Arriba was there. Of course, Dr. Bailey representing the college, and also several from the Española School District. So a total of 5 entities went down there, and we discussed with the city of Hobbs and with their mayor and the other 5 entities that did similar to what they did to establish this 100,000 square foot facility called the Core. This facility is beautiful. I guess to put it in simple words, it's the Genoveva Center in Santa Fe on steroids. Of course, the city could not afford a facility that big, but the way the collaboration that these individuals did down there, when it was Lee County, the city of Hobbs, the school districts, the local junior college there, and a private entity that they had. So we pretty much kind of try to mirror that and bring it here. And that's where the talks came with, right? So, but right now, like I say, it's everything in the planning stages. And as a planning and land use director, Richard Hubler mentioned that the next phase is to encumber about $700,000 of that $6 million bond to generate or start a feasibility study as to like what the community wants and needs to get a better idea and understanding as to where to start off, right? Because we don't want to put money into a facility that it won't be popular for the community, right? So that's where we're at right now.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Any other comments or questions in reference to General Services Department overview at this time? Okay, very good. Jeff, thank you very much for the report. And gentlemen, thank you all for the update as well. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Okay, moving on to the next item is item I, which is our wastewater treatment plant. Antonio Chavez. Go ahead, sir. You have the floor again.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, we've run EP samples we ran ammonia samples, 48 acutes, extended effluent testing, and our annual DMR 40 testing. We ran sewer taps on Ranchitos, Calle Lopez. We started city sewer PMs from McCurdy, North McCurdy down to prevent backups. We responded to sewer backups on Valley Estates, Camino del Sol, and Middle San Pedro. We assisted the water department on water leaks on State Road 76, Calle Vigil, and Johnny's Auto. We assisted San Juan with backups, received sludge from San Juan wastewater treatment plant, took out faulty lift pumps from the wastewater plant, and our return activated room and these lift stations, took them to JCH for repairs. Had James Yukon come and repair VFDs for the screens, for the screening at the wastewater plant and railroad lift stations. And we also ran our daily PMs at the plant.
Okay,
Thank you.
very good. Thank you, sir. Is there any comments or questions for Antonio at this time by the councilors? Okay, hearing nothing. Anything else, Antonio, at this time?
That's it. Thank you, sir.
Okay, very good. Thank you guys for your hard work as well. We appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Okay, moving on to the next item is our streets department. Street Supervisor Elijah Mata is here. You have the floor again, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Just kind of been going over basic stuff right now, just, coming off of this whole COVID, staggered schedule and stuff, and just doing what we can there. Everything from sweeping, painting of speed bumps, trimming of, trees. Weed control is a big issue, I know, taking care of medians, of course, and any of the roadways and our right-of-ways that we have. The other thing I put together was a street survey of the roads. Kind of did in a color-coded kind of thing, and this is basically my opinion on the condition of these roads, what could be possibly done with these roads, and the order of importance that I see. Of course, you guys are always welcome to make any kind of comments or move them around as you will. That's why I gave it to you in the format that I did, so that you do have the ability to be able to kind of place them where you might see fit. And if you guys have any other questions or comments, please.
Very good. Thank you for that. We appreciate that, sir. Any questions or comments for Elijah at this time?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead, Councilor Vihil.
Thank you, Elijah. Thank you so much for doing this. This is way overdue, and I'm really happy we can go with this. My thing is, I think it's important to prioritize, but I also think it's important to listen to the professionals. And if there's anyone who knows the roads in this town, it's Elijah. And if you believe, Elijah, these roads are the ones that you feel are prioritized, I think we should start working on now our capital outlay request list with the CM and going from there, because our roads are in really bad shape. And I brought up in an email today about, is it true, Elijah, you're only using your budget for maintenance of roadways is only $8,000 in your department budget?
It's not my total budget. That's just kind of what we had lower. That was the one fund that was kind of being referenced to there when I read that. Because it seems like sometimes I have a large budget, that one line item, or that, I think it's a 210 or 124. I don't have it in front of me, unfortunately. Is a total of $333,000 that we get from taxes, gas taxes and stuff on that there. What we wanted to point out is that $278,000 of it goes to paying for the lighting at that point. $47,000 is allocated for purchase of larger machinery, which we saved over the years. In the past, that's what we purchased the bucket truck with. Leaving $8,000, which on that budget that we get from there is pays for fuel and a few other things. On the other budget, there is $20,000 for street repairs, light repairs. That kind of gets eaten up with just replacing of the bulbs, the little head units and stuff like that. Whenever someone kind of bumps into them and they're not quite big enough to be claimed on any type of insurance. And then there's probably about another $15,000 on another one, but I mean that goes straight up to potholes. And just a bunch of other little stuff there. So there's really not a really big budget that's left. Anything that seems like there might be money there ends up going to allocate it to either matching co-op, MAP funding, which we do, roads like we did Kaya Alamo last, and we got now, come July this month here, I'm going to start working with some of the companies with the state again to work on the east side of town, some roads that were identified earlier on, and we had gotten some kind of funding to start those, and they were approved by council before. So a lot of those monies end up getting tied up into predetermined costs, I guess, that come out. So what I actually work with is a very small amount to accomplish a lot of what we do.
Follow up, Mr. Chair.
Okay, go ahead. Yes.
I'd like to applaud you, Elijah, for what you do with your budget. That's why it's been brought to my attention that by mid-year, you're already running low on hot mix and being able to afford hot mix to patch some holes. That's why I was wondering to see if there was any potentiality. Obviously, everyone could grow their budget, but if to necessitate some of these serious issues on some of our roadways to get them along a little further, if we could go and expand your budget a little bit more on that maintenance line item.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure where we could pull from the existing budget right now to increase out of there. It would have to be from another source of revenue or, that's what we try to get grants and stuff for, but we do have to do a lot of matches on those, unfortunately. So anytime capital outlay and stuff like that can help me do a lot of bigger projects, but being able to move around monies, and there's not a whole lot to move around.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, very good. I do agree the money is definitely needed. That's for sure. That's for sure. Any other questions for Elijah at this time? Yes, Councilor Benavides.
Just really quick, I just want to commend Elijah because I can't believe that they do everything that they do with that small budget. And I agree that we need to really see where we can find other sources of revenue to increase their budgets. And I also want to commend Elijah. I know the weeds are really crazy, and I know that they're focusing on what's mainly in town. I know that in District 3, there's some areas that the weeds are getting huge. If you can take a look in some of those areas, Elijah, I'd appreciate it. Of course, main streets are our main focus for weeds. But again, thank you so much for what you do with that small budget.
Thank you.
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Elijah. Thank you and your staff for your continuous hard work. Appreciate that. Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to the next item. Actually, we got Antonio back, Antonio Chavez for the water department. Sorry, Antonio, I should have actually got you to cover both of them at the same time.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, thank you. We did some repair. We repaired water leaks on Cayuga Hill, State Road 76, East Pueblo, Ash Loop, and Johnny's Auto. Johnny's Auto, I'll tell you a little story on that one. We've been trying to find that service for around 20 years now. And the new owners, Jorge, they let us cut the asphalt, and we're finally able to find where it came from because it's an old infrastructure. So that's something that, was really good for the city, because before that we'd have to close half the city down, the water down, for repairs on that. We also replaced the fire pump, replaced our fire pump at the Industrial Road, repaired our Myox and booster pump station on Lopez Lane, repaired our CO2 at our arsenic well. Power generations ran PMs on all generators, repaired fire hydrants, cut weeds throughout the city, read meters, ran PMs on all wells, ran back Ts, and I stand for any questions for the board from the committee. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you, sir. Any questions for Antonio in regards to the water department at this time?
Just real quick, I asked this comment, Mr. Chair and Finance. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, go ahead, Councilor. Yes, go ahead, sir.
How many connections have we had, Antonio, since COVID started? I was interested if that slowed down or anything.
I couldn't tell you for sure how many we've had. Maybe we do 3 a month since COVID started. And I wasn't sure before that because I wasn't the supervisor before COVID. I'd have to ask Danielle about that.
Okay, all right. We just wanted to see if COVID affected us really bad.
And I think that's average, honestly.
Okay, very good. City Manager Martinez.
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Councilor John Ramon Vigil. So, to follow up with Mr. Chavez, there have been steady reconnects. I know that we had an individual that's developing up in Zia Estates off of Eliana Road, came in and did 12 hookups right off the bat. So, they are there. So, we're looking at it, and the numbers are still steady going forward.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Any other questions for Antonio at this time? Okay, I think that's it. Thank you, Antonio. Appreciate it, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Members.
Okay, moving on to the next item is L, Planning and Land Use Department, Planning and Land Use Director, Richard Hubler. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. There's a variety of different things we've been working on. Most of these were on the list that former Chair John Ritchie went over at the last meeting. Some of them are coming forward to fruition. The median ordinance is wrapping up its legal review right now. We're going to be presenting that probably simultaneously to this body next month, along with an update on the Fairview corridor safety study, which is a little bit further down this list, partly because those things are related, or at least they've got a related concern. We've been working with the NPR TPO related to projects. Our draft PFFs were reviewed by District 5 a few weeks ago, and then they're going back for inclusion in their process at this week's meeting or this month's meeting, which will get them on the list come the end of the year when that organization puts together a request to DOT for funding projects. So we worked with Elijah and Stephen last year on a number of projects that were put into the ICIP amendment that was done in December and requested for capital funding. And then of course the capital funding bill was vetoed this spring. So we're hopeful that maybe next year won't be quite so bad, but we'll be ready to go with those, including several that are on the top of Elijah's list there on streets, as you can imagine. We're wrapping up the clean and lean demolition. We've completed phase 1 entirely. The remaining house from that has been demolished, as we indicated at the last council meeting, and we're just about complete with the second phase. Our affordable housing plan, we have a draft that was approved by MFA, and we're finalizing the plan, adding some language beyond what MFA requires to meet kind of the desires of the city and the county, and should have that done hopefully by the end of this month. And then just a couple other things that are in the work. Our ADA transition plan actually kicks off tomorrow. I'm sure Chair Salazar will be excited about this. Our consultants, Mile High Accessibility from Denver, will be in town tomorrow for their kickoff meeting. And then they've got a kind of harried schedule over the next couple weeks to go around and do a bunch of evaluations of all different kinds of facilities, both road and sidewalk facilities, as well as physical plant building kind of facilities. The one thing I do want to highlight about the Fairview Corridor Safety Study is that they completed the draft plan. They've got that out now for public comment. Because of COVID, obviously that's a little bit challenging. So we've got it up on our city website. The state, of course, DOT is advertising that. There's public comment cards. I'll make sure to forward to everybody here an email that went to the Public Works Department today from the DOT with links to those, and certainly feel free to pass that around. We do want to get as robust of a feedback as we can on their proposals as possible. And then just a couple other things that we're still working on, and I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody might have.
Okay, very good. In fact, I did receive an email from Shannon from the NMDOT as well earlier today in regards to the Fairview Corridor. So so thank you very much for bringing that up as well. Also in regards to the ADA, yes, I'm ecstatic. I'm happy, and I know you guys have been working hard on that. I'm also very happy to see the D5 is kind of back on track to look over your project feasibility forms, and then just hopefully everything goes smooth for the end of the year to next year to get some funding for the city. Is there any comments or questions for Richard at this time by the committee members?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Councilor Vigil.
Thank you. Richard, I recall finding one time an ordinance, I'm not sure if it's in there, regarding burned out structures, and see if we've made contact with the property owner, at least of the apartment complex there off of Cayo Rodriguez, there in Curuco town. Caught fire about a year ago. And I just wanted to see if we've made contact with him to see what his plans for the building are. It's not only an eyesore, it seems to be very also a hazard. I know it's cautioned off with caution tape, but it's just, to my understanding, it's already acquired some squatters, and I'd hate for it to collapse on them. And I hope you know what building I'm talking about. And then just about 2 weeks ago, we also had that other property there on Suazo Street, also in Curucu Town, that caught fire as well. So I just wanted to see if we have an actual ordinance on file to see what we're going to do with some of our burned out properties. I get the properties that are home to squatters, but these burned out properties, they're a serious hazard to the neighborhood.
Absolutely. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, and Councilor Vigil. So I've not found any ordinance that's currently on the books related specifically to burned out structures, but I'd like to address the couple properties you mentioned, as we have been very engaged with both of them. Certainly the second one is actually the third of 3 structures that are on 901 Calle Quintana, which has been on our clean and lean list since 2018. So as that structure burnt down, we actually engaged the Public Works Department. Director Trujillo came out with a backhoe and helped to kind of level that building as it became an imminent danger due to the water washing away the adobe walls. So that one is still needs some work on it. We've reached out to the property owners of record, who of course are entirely non-responsive. And that one is absolutely at the top of our list for city action as far as the clean and lean goes. And we'll just need to get the funding to approve that when it comes up before the council. The property on Calle Rodriguez that burned last November, December timeframe, we did reach out to the property owner immediately after that happened. He, of course, is going through an entire process with insurance and everything. That's the 2-story structure that's basically just right there off of Coronado. And he did complete that process roughly a month or so ago. He came in and interacted with our office about a demolition permit. We've issued him a demolition permit, and he started the work. He found a contractor that he liked. I understand he interviewed several. The last update that I had was about a week or so ago. The Jimenez crew was out there removing their service. The gas company had already pulled theirs out previous to that. And so he was just getting all the different utility disconnections done so that they could move forward with flattening the structure. So that one is in process. Our demolition permits typically have a much shorter time frame than most of our other development permits go. And I want to say that his deadline is still about 45 to 60 days from now. I'm not looking at the permits, I don't have the exact date, but certainly we should see a lot of action on that very soon, and it should be flattened, cleaned up, and appropriately disposed of very shortly.
Thank you, Richard. Appreciate the information.
Very good. Thank you. Is there any other questions or comments for Richard at this time? Okay, hearing none. Richard, thank you and your staff for your hard work, your continuous hard work, and moving forward. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to item M, Public Works Department overview. Public Works Director Steven Trujillo. Mr. Trujillo, you're up, sir.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. So on my department overview, what I have here is a JCI new meter installation. I had brought this up a couple of meetings back. So we did install the new metering system, but come to find out that there were 684 meters that were not sent with the original quote when it was done. So we're working on that, and I'm waiting for a quote so that way we could have 100% meter change out. I don't know where it fell through between there, but I did pick this up after, and we found out that many, so I'm just waiting on that to move that process forward. We also are working out bugs with the towers that we have in the city, because we've had some issues with just it picking up certain meters through the lids. So the water department are out putting new antennas and making sure that the system is reading correctly. So we're just working out those few bugs on that part. For Denora Water Technologies, I sent out the purchased orders on June 26th that were approved previously by City Council. So the system will take 10 to 12 weeks to be built. Then it'll be shipped out to us, and then we could start construction on that. Camino Miramontes on June 25th, we had a Zoom meeting with Sauter Miller and Associates, and we did a 30% design completion overview. It's all the work they've done this far for Camino Miramontes, talking about drainage and I asked them on my part what the rest was going to cost to get us to 100%. So I'm awaiting that quote, and I'll keep you guys updated as I get that information to see till we get 100% design to have it shovel ready to move forward to get funds for the project. The phase 3 of North Coronado, I've been working with Diane on the scope of work for an RFP process. That scope of work and that work is going to be done just from the intersection of Veterans Memorial to Bond Street, and all of North Coronado will be done with a new water line installation. So that's a final piece. We're just putting that together. And then for the State Road 76 wastewater upgrade, I know everybody's been anxious about that one. So the bid closes July 15th. Pre-bid will be July 23rd. All the bids need to be received by July 30th, and then the anticipated award to the contractor should be by August 25th, and then the construction can start after that.
Okay.
Also, I did not add on my overview, but I did want to bring up, so the $80,000 that we received from the DOT, well, in my mind, and I wanted to get the opinion of the committee, was maybe sooner rather than later that we go out, get 2 of the city vans, of course with social distancing, drive around through all our main streets, and we could as a whole decide on what streets we could use that money on, because I don't want to, I know people are in certain areas want here and there, but I think if we all make the decision together and we drive out on the actual field as a field trip, if you will, that would be something good for us to experience and decide as a committee. So I just wanted to get your feedback on that as well too.
I agree. I think that would be good. I think that would be really good. If the committee agrees, I think yeah, field trip, and then at the same time be able to hopefully get a consensus on that and be able to move forward. So maybe we could start working on planning something like that if the committee members agree as well. Definitely. Yes. Any comment or feedback from our committee members in regards to Stephen's comments? Yes, Councilor Benavides.
Chair, just a couple of comments. I think that that's a great idea to drive around and kind of get an idea of what streets are in the worst and dire need. Yeah, I think we should do that as soon as we can. Secondly, Stephen, just for clarification on those meters that were missing, were they not part of the original? I mean, is that going to be additional cost for those now?
Mr. Chair, Councilor Benavides, yes, it is going to be an additional cost for whatever reason. When the initial number of residents that were connected were sent out, they were not included in that. It should have been in the original bid, but it wasn't included, so we didn't find this out till after. So unfortunately, we are gonna have to pay for funding after, but I am looking at, I did meet with Jessica Ortiz, and we've been in the talks if we could finance the rest of the portion or just renew another contract with Johnson Controls to get that going. But once I gather all the information and have it together, I'll present it to you guys again on how we proceed forward.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Very good. I would just like to state for the record, at 7:05, we lost Councilor John Ramon Vigil, so we lost our quorum. He came back at 7:07 briefly, but then he logged off again, or he, maybe his connection got cut off. So the time is 7:09 right now. We do not have a quorum. I know, although the meeting's almost over, I know we do have to do an adjournment with that, but I would just like to state that for the record right now. So the time is 7:09. So moving on, is there any questions or comments for Stephen right now in regards to his comments or anything? Okay, hearing none. Stephen, thank you. Thank you all for your hard work, your continuous hard work and moving forward. I know there's a lot of normal everyday challenges. On top of that is a COVID. And you guys have seen the cases too. The cases have, been going higher up. So I know that's a constant challenge for everybody. I know Jeff has been, giving everybody updates as to where we are, to where we're going, and, kind of where we need to be. So I know there's so many challenges, but nonetheless, with that, thank you guys for your hard work. I think John Ramon is back on right now. Just
sorry, my internet lost, and needs someone to kick me back in.
Oh, okay, yeah, we kind of figured that you lost the internet. So Stephen just pretty much finished off his report. Do you have any questions for Stephen at this time, Counselor Vihil?
No, thank you guys for all you do, all the departments associated.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Mr. Sergeant, go ahead, Jeff.
Just a quick update, based on today's numbers, we did gain 10 new cases today. Those, I was looking at the Department of Health website, and it looks like at least 9 of those are from the Jicarilla Nation zip code area. So like I've said in my briefings, just we need to pray for those people and help them out. We've offered, but just keep them in your prayers as they're going through a tough time.
Definitely will. Thank you. Thank you for that. And, you know, with that said, thank you for the reports. Thank you for the guidance as well. So all we could do is just do everything that we can to protect people around us, our families, ourselves, and, you know, just do everything we can to continue doing that, because it's a scary thing. You know, cases are rising, then they started going lower, and now they're, you know, seem to be rising again. And then you see Rio Arriba County, you automatically think Española. So thank you for that, Jeff, as well, to, you know, pinpoint and let us know, you know, everything, you know, where this is happening and, you know, what's specifically going on within our zip code as well. You know, we do appreciate that. With that said, is there anything else from anybody in regards to this committee meeting? Okay, hearing none, our next Public Works Committee meeting is scheduled for, okay, the first Tuesday of the month is August 4th at 6 p.m. So let's plan it for that. And then, of course, you know, we've discussed a few items to come up. If there's nothing else before the committee, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, so motion's been made by Councilor Benavides, seconded by Councilor John Ramon Vihil. I'd like to take a roll call vote just for roll call purposes. Councilor Benavides for the motion?
For the motion.
I figured. Okay, Councilor John Ramon Vihil for the motion?
Absolutely.
Okay, definitely. Motion carries. Meeting ended at 7:12. Thank you, everybody, and you guys have a great rest of the week. Thanks for your hard work.
Everybody, you too.
Evening.